Most people think Jesus spoke in parables to make the truth easier to understand. Simpler, more accessible, more palatable. But when his disciples asked him directly why he spoke that way, he told them the truth was being hidden. Not simplified, hidden. You've heard the version 100 times. Jesus was the master storyteller. He used sheep and seeds and coins so that ordinary people could grasp deep theological truths. Parables were his way of taking the complicated things of God and making them simple. Here's the problem. Every time Jesus finished a parable, the crowd walked away confused. Not mildly puzzled, genuinely lost. Even the 12 disciples, the men who gave up their livelihoods to follow him, who ate with him every day, walked every road with him, fell asleep under the same stars. They had to pull him aside. "Lord, we have no idea what you just said. Can you explain the one about the weeds again?" Matthew 13:36, right there in the text. If Jesus' goal was clarity, he failed. But Jesus didn't fail, which means clarity was never the goal. Imagine standing in that crowd. You walked for hours. Your feet hurt. You're pressed in on every side. And the man everyone is calling a prophet, maybe the Messiah, finally opens his mouth. And he starts talking about dirt. A farmer scattering seed. Some lands on the path. Some falls on rock. Some gets choked by thorns. Some finds good soil. And then he stops. That's it. Story over. You look at the person next to you. They look at you. What just happened? The disciples asked the question we're all thinking. Why? Why do you speak to people this way? And Jesus quotes Isaiah. Now, this is where the historical context matters enormously. Isaiah 6 was not a comforting text in Jewish memory. It was not the "here I am, send me" moment people put on coffee mugs. Read the whole chapter. God sends Isaiah to preach and tells him up front, they won't listen. Go anyway. It was a commission of judgment, a prophecy that the very act of preaching would harden the hearts it was meant to reach. In Jewish tradition, this passage carried dread, not inspiration. When Jesus quotes it in Matthew 13, he is not describing a communication problem. He is invoking a judicial act. Some people stood 10 feet from the Son of God. They heard every word and left with nothing. Not because the truth wasn't there, because their hearts weren't. Let me give you some context, because this is where most people's Sunday school education runs out. In first-century Judaism, a rabbi didn't use parables as lecture aids. That's a modern assumption we've read back into the text. A parable, a mashal, was much closer to a final exam. Rabbis used them to test their students, to see who was paying close enough attention, to separate the ones there for spectacle from the ones genuinely there to learn. A student who grasped the meaning immediately was considered suspect, because in the Jewish tradition of discipleship, the question itself was the work. The word Israel literally means one who wrestles with God. Disciples were expected to wrestle, to sit with confusion, to return the next morning with questions. Passive understanding was not the goal. Active wrestling was. Jesus wasn't a poor communicator. He was a first-century rabbi, doing exactly what first-century rabbis did, testing the soil before he planted. Now, here's the part most people miss entirely. We assume Jesus was filtering out the outsiders, the pagans, the Romans, the obvious non-believers who had no business at a Jewish teacher's feet. But look at the room. Who was actually in that crowd? Religious people, devout people, people who had memorized the Torah from childhood, people who tithed, prayed 3 times a day, fasted twice a week, and had been waiting their whole lives for the Messiah. These were the calloused hearts Isaiah described. The parables weren't hiding truth from outsiders. They were exposing the outsiders hiding inside the religious crowd. In the Hebrew prophetic tradition, the act of speaking itself could be a form of divine verdict. The word goes out, and what people do with it reveals what is already in their hearts. The parable does not create the hardness, it reveals it. This is why the prophet doesn't fail when people refuse to hear. Their refusal is the message. The Pharisee didn't need more theology, he needed a mirror. The parable was the mirror. And the most dangerous person in the room was the one who heard the story about the farmer and thought, "Good thing I'm not the bad soil." In the Mushal tradition, there was a concept that might translate as the one who has been given ears. It wasn't about intelligence. It wasn't about education or status. It was about disposition. A hungry heart, a teachable spirit, a person willing to be wrong about what they thought they already knew. This is why Jesus could say, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." He wasn't being vague, he was being precise, because some people in that crowd literally could not hear what he was saying, not due to any physical limitation, but because of what they had already decided was true. Think about the rich fool, the man who tears down perfectly good barns to build bigger ones so he can finally eat, drink, and rest. A casual listener hears a story about poor planning, but a person whose heart is genuinely open, that story reaches in and grabs something. Because somewhere, maybe quietly, maybe deep, they recognize the man. They are the man. Jesus was looking for that recognition. That honest moment of self-implication. Not perfect people, not educated people, honest people. I'll be honest with you. Some of Jesus's parables genuinely bother me. Not because they're confusing, because they don't let me stay neutral. The moment I think I've understood the prodigal son from the younger brother's perspective, I realize I'm the elder brother, standing outside the party, furious and right. That's the design. The parable waits for you to condemn the wrong character, and then turns around and shows you yourself. If the parables of Jesus feel comfortable, if the rich fool is a nice moral lesson, and the eye of the needle is an interesting historical footnote, you haven't heard them yet. They were designed to be offensive, engineered to disturb the settled, built to create a very specific feeling, a slow, crawling wrongness. Like standing in a room you've lived in your whole life and suddenly noticing the walls are crooked. The parable is not a window to help you see in. It's a mirror that shows you what you'd rather not see. We want a Jesus who explains himself immediately, a Jesus who fits inside a podcast clip, a Jesus who resolves the tension in 3 minutes and leaves us feeling better than when we started. A Jesus who never leaves us wrestling through the night. And Jesus is still standing in that field, talking about dirt, waiting. The question is never whether you understand the parable. The question is whether you care enough to ask. Whether you'll sit with the rich fool and ask honestly, "Is that me?" Whether you can look at the elder brother standing outside the party and feel, not contempt, but recognition. If you've watched these videos and felt confused, unsettled, slightly annoyed, that's the mushal working. That means your heart isn't calloused yet. Here's the thing about that day in Galilee. After Jesus told the parable of the sower, the crowd heard a story about farming and left. And when the crowd was gone, when the dust had settled and the hillside was quiet, a small group stayed. They walked up to him and asked. Jesus ended his parables with 8 words. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. He wasn't speaking to the crowd. He was speaking to whoever would stay. The crowd heard stories. The disciples stayed after everyone left. Which one are you? Next week, we go deeper. If you're ready to move past the stories and into the reality, subscribe and stay with us.